The Forgotten Weapon, 800 words. The galaxy was vast, filled with thousands of empires, kingdoms, and federations. But among all these powers there were stories, whispered stories about humanity. Long ago, humanity had fought wars unlike anything seen today. Their armies were fierce, their fleets unmatched, and their machines beyond understanding. Yet humanity vanished, no one knew why. Some said they destroyed themselves. Others said they fled beyond the edge of known space. But one story remained in the shadows of alien archives. The story of the Starkiller. It was said to be humanity's most terrifying creation. A machine not built to fight ships but to destroy stars themselves. A weapon so powerful that entire systems could vanish in moments. For centuries, most laughed at this tale. They said it was just a myth created to scare young cadets. But the myth refused to die. Archivists found fragments of old human data, pieces of maps showing hidden worlds, records of energy signatures that could not be explained. And among them was the name whispered in fear, the Starkiller. On the edge of the Orion Rift, a salvage crew of mixed aliens drifted through ruins. They were not soldiers, not heroes, only scavengers searching for scraps of metal and lost tech to sell. Their scanners picked up a strange signal below the crust of a dead planet. The captain, a tall insectoid, thought it was only buried reactors. But the readings were different, pulsing like a heartbeat. Every few seconds, the ground itself seemed to hum. The crew argued. Some said they should leave. Others said they could be rich if they found something rare. Against their fear, they drilled. Machines cut through layers of rock. And then they found it. Not a reactor, not a ruin, but a black surface, smooth and endless, stretching like a wall into the depths. No rust, no decay, untouched by time. The youngest of the crew touched it. The moment his claws pressed against the dark metal, the wall responded, glowing faintly with red lines. The hum grew louder, shaking the ground beneath them. Alarms screamed across their ship. Power surges exploded on their consoles.
"It's alive," one of them whispered.
And silence followed. The planet trembled. The ruins above cracked apart. Dust and stone rose into the air. The crew scrambled back to their ship, but it was too late. The surface opened, and from deep within came the first sound, a sound not heard for thousands of years. The sound of a machine awakening across nearby systems. Outposts detected a sudden burst of energy. Ships reported interference in their engines. Navigational computers failed. Signals stretched across the void, carrying a message no one could understand. In the Senate Hall of the Krath Dominion, leaders argued. "It is only an earthquake," one shouted. But others knew. They had heard the legend. They knew the old human codes. The data matched the myths. "The Starkiller stirs," an elder whispered, and every voice fell silent. The salvage crew watched in terror as the black wall rose higher, revealing edges of a structure larger than any city, larger than any station. Lights spread like veins across its hull, deep crimson, pulsing like blood. One by one, the stars above reflected on its surface as if the night itself had returned. The captain shouted for engines. Their small ship lifted into orbit, but the gravity around the planet shifted. As if an invisible hand gripped them, their ship shook. Alarms wailed. And then the black machine's core opened, revealing a single red eye, round and burning, staring at them through space across the galaxy. Old archives flickered to life, long dead files unlocked by the awakening signal. Ancient records of humanity's last war appeared. Maps of destroyed systems, lists of fallen empires, reports written by alien survivors who had begged for mercy. The words repeated in every tongue. One weapon to end them all. The salvage crew's final transmission spread before their ship vanished. "It is real," the voice cried. "The Starkiller is real." And then silence consumed the channel. News spread faster than light. Empires that once mocked humanity began secret meetings. Fleets mobilized and spies were sent to find the truth. Was the weapon under control? Or was it free? No one knew, but fear gripped them all. For the first time in thousands of years, the galaxy trembled. The forgotten weapon of humanity had awakened. Its hum echoed through every system, a promise of fire and destruction yet to come, and far away in the darkness of space, the Starkiller's red eye opened fully, burning like a newborn sun, waiting for the command that had been silent for millennia. The first tremors in the silent corners of the galaxy. Stations began to flicker with strange signals. Engineers stared at consoles that should not be alive. Power grids fluctuated. Reactors shut down without warning, and entire fleets reported sudden navigation errors. It was as if the void itself was disturbed. The the Krath Dominion's War Council gathered, their screens showing the salvage crew's final transmission. The words replayed over and over. It is real. The Starkiller is real, leaders shouted at each other. Some demanded full fleets to strike the planet. Others said they should remain quiet, too afraid to awaken what was sleeping. But it was already too late. The tremors had begun. Far away in the Zorathi Empire, one of the strongest naval powers in the galaxy, admirals watched the energy readings rise. The graphs were impossible, a spike of raw power higher than a supernova. Yet concentrated and steady, their top scientists whispered in panic, no reactor could do this, no machine could hold this. Except for one, the weapon humans left behind. Civilian traffic near the Orion Rift reported their ships losing power mid-flight. Some vanished into the void as their hyperdrives collapsed. Families screamed across broken channels before silence swallowed them. Rumors spread faster than fact. Every tavern, every marketplace, every soldier's barracks whispered the same word. Starkiller. The galaxy had forgotten fear, but now it returned. The great empires scrambled their fleets. The Dominion, the Zorathi, the Valar Confederacy, and even the silent priest kings of the Jaun Order sent warships toward the rift, each believing they could control or capture the machine, but none trusted the others. Alliances shattered as quickly as they were made. Every empire wanted the Starkiller for themselves. On the dead planet itself, the ground trembled like a living beast stretching after centuries of sleep. Mountains cracked, rivers boiled away, and the sky split with lightning storms as the machine rose further from the crust. Its surface glowed brighter, red lines running like rivers of fire. From orbit, smaller ships hovered at a distance, their sensors trying to scan the surface. But one by one their systems failed, their data corrupted, their engines cut out. The machine did not attack, it only pulsed, but each pulse was enough to bring chaos. In the Galactic core, archivists dusted off ancient records. They searched through forgotten files about humanity's wars. They uncovered stories written by alien survivors who had faced human weapons long ago, stories of ships disintegrated in seconds, stars collapsed into darkness, and planets shattered by beams of light. One line appeared again and again in the records. When the Starkiller moves, the galaxy will burn. The tremors reached beyond the Orion Rift. Star systems light years away felt the disturbance. In mining colonies, workers collapsed as machines shook violently. In distant academies, young cadets stared at their training simulations freezing, as though the very universe was holding its breath. On the bridge of the Zorathi flagship Iron Fang, Admiral Relkor stood silent. He had fought in 100 wars, but he had never seen fear on his crew like this. One of his officers whispered, "Sir, what if the humans return? What if this is only the first?" The Admiral gave no answer, because deep inside he feared the same. Meanwhile, in the Krath Dominion, spies returned with fragments of coded transmissions, human code buried deep in the awakening signal. Most could not understand it, but the message was clear. It was a command. Old, powerful, still running after thousands of years. The leaders grew desperate. Some argued they should destroy the planet before the machine fully awakened, but others laughed at the idea. How could anyone destroy a weapon that could devour stars? One elder said, "If you strike it, you only wake it faster." And so fleets arrived. Hundreds of ships surrounding the dead world, their weapons charged, their formations ready, but none dared fire the first shot. They circled like predators around a beast far greater than themselves. The tremors grew stronger. And then for the first time the machine moved. A sound like thunder rolled through space, deep and terrible, a vibration that shook every ship, every station, every soul that heard it. It was not an attack, it was a warning. A single line of red light shot into the sky from the planet's surface. Piercing the darkness of space, it stretched across systems like a beacon, and across the galaxy. Every sensor, every telescope, every screen saw the same thing. The Starkiller had awoken. The empires trembled, the people panicked, and across the stars the name of humanity was spoken once more, not as myth but as fear reborn. The awakening, the dead world groaned as if it were alive. Mountains split, oceans turned into boiling clouds, and the ground shook with every pulse of the buried machine. Fleets hovered in orbit watching, their captains silent, their crews gripping consoles with trembling hands. Then it began. The Starkiller rose not like a ship, but like a continent rising into the sky. Pieces of rock fell away as its colossal form broke free from the crust. Kilometers of black armor gleamed under the broken sun, each plate carved with ancient lines of human design. The first sight stole the breath of even the bravest soldiers. It was larger than anything built in the last 1,000 years. Larger than stations, larger than cities. It was not only a warship, it was a moving fortress of doom. Its core glowed red, pulsing like a beating heart. Each pulse sent waves across space, knocking out systems, scattering signals. Fleets struggled to maintain position. Ships spun off course as if the void itself bent around the machine. One captain screamed to fire, missiles launched. Beams cut across the darkness, but when they struck the surface, the energy vanished as if swallowed. No sparks, no damage, only silence, as though the Star Killer ignored their attempts. Inside the Zarathi flagship Iron Fang, Admiral Relkor stood unmoving. His crew looked to him for orders, but he said nothing, his voice locked by the sight before him. The Star Killer turned, slow and deliberate, a single eye of crimson light opening on its surface, and when it stared, it felt like it looked into every soul watching. The Krath Dominion's War Council panicked. Their fleet shouted over comms, begging for guidance, but their leaders argued. "Attack," one cried. "Retreat," another shouted. But before any choice was made, the Star Killer moved again. A low vibration spread through space, deep and heavy, like the roar of a beast older than the stars. Entire fleets shivered as the sound echoed through their hulls. It was not only heard, it was felt, in bones, in blood, in the hearts of all who lived. Then it acted. Panels slid open across its sides, glowing vents releasing rivers of fire, energy brighter than suns building within. The fleets prepared, their weapons primed, but no one dared fire again, and then a beam erupted. The light was silent but unstoppable. It cut across the void and struck a battleship at the edge of the Dominion fleet. There was no explosion, no wreckage. The ship simply vanished, turned to dust in an instant. Panic spread. Comms filled with screams, ships scattered, orders fell apart, admirals shouted for retreat. But the Star Killer did not chase. It stood tall and silent, watching as they fled like insects before a storm. Across the galaxy, transmissions carried the images. Every world, every colony, every academy saw the truth. The legend was alive. The Star Killer existed. Humanity's weapon of ultimate destruction had returned. In the halls of the Jaun priest kings, their chants broke. Their sacred texts long warned of this day. They had called humanity demons of the void, and now their prophecy stood fulfilled. Meanwhile, on distant mining colonies, workers stared at screens showing the awakening. They wept, not from joy or sorrow, but from fear. For no empire, no alliance, no fleet could stand against what had risen. The galaxy had been ruled by arrogance, empires believing themselves untouchable. But now, the memory of humanity returned, a reminder that once there had been a species that built machines so powerful they could end stars themselves. On the bridge of the Iron Fang, Admiral Relkor finally spoke, his voice hoarse. "This is no weapon to fight. This is judgment." His officers bowed their heads. None argued because deep inside they knew he was right. And still the Star Killer pulsed, each wave stronger than before, each hum shaking the very core of nearby stars. Systems flickered, suns dimmed, planets cracked. The galaxy realized this was not only an awakening, it was a warning. A reminder that humanity's shadow had never left. It had only been waiting. As the final crust of the planet fell away, the Star Killer stood in full, its surface alive with rivers of crimson light, its eye burning brighter than suns. And then, without a word, without a sound, it turned toward the stars. Every fleet commander, every leader, every soldier watching from across the galaxy felt the same chill, because in that moment they understood the Star Killer was not waking by accident. It was waking with purpose, and the galaxy was about to burn. The first strike. The galaxy held its breath. Fleets hovered at a distance, engines humming low, weapons armed but silent. No one dared to move too close. The Star Killer floated above the shattered planet like a god of war, silent and waiting. Admiral Relkor on the Iron Fang clenched his fists. His crew begged for orders. "Do we retreat? Do we strike?" But his voice was quiet. "We wait," because he knew one wrong move could mean the death of not only his fleet, but of entire star systems. But the galaxy was never patient. The Valar Confederacy broke the silence first. Hundreds of sleek warships surged forward, their engines blazing. Commanders confident in their numbers, they unleashed everything. Missiles, plasma bolts, and beams of energy brighter than suns. The void lit up in storms of fire. For a moment the stars themselves seemed to scream. But when the light faded, the Star Killer remained untouched. The weapons had vanished against its black armor, swallowed by shields no one could measure, and then it answered. Panels along its hull unfolded like wings, glowing brighter. crimson rivers of energy flowing outward. The eye of the machine widened, and a deep hum filled the void. It was not only sound, it was pressure. It made lungs heavy, hearts pound and minds scream. A single beam fired, cutting across the fleet like a scythe through grass. Entire squadrons vanished in silence. Ships turned to ash before they could scream. Debris scattered, but even that was consumed by the pulse. In seconds, hundreds of ships were gone. The survivors fled, chaos filling their comms. Some begged for mercy, others cursed their leaders. But the Starkiller did not listen. It did not need to. Its purpose was not mercy. It was destruction. The Zarathi admirals held back, watching in silence, but fear ran through their veins. If the Valar fleet, one of the strongest in the galaxy, could vanish in a heartbeat, what chance did anyone else have? And then the Starkiller fired again. This time not at ships but at a nearby star. Its beam pierced the sun and the star screamed. Light dimmed, plasma boiled, and in moments the entire system shook as if death itself had arrived. Planets cracked, moons shattered, and colonies screamed as their skies turned red. Billions of lives ended in a single breath of the machine. Across the galaxy, broadcasts carried the images. Every citizen, soldier, and leader saw the truth. The Starkiller was not only a weapon against fleets, it was a weapon against creation itself. The John Priest Kings fell to their knees, chanting broken prayers. The Krath Dominion leaders shouted at each other, demanding retreat, demanding surrender, but none knew who to surrender to. For the humans who built this machine were gone, and the weapon obeyed no one. On the bridge of the Iron Fang, Admiral Relkor whispered, "It remembers its orders." His officers turned to him in shock. "Orders from who?" he answered with hollow eyes. "From humanity," and silence followed. The Starkiller moved slowly, turning its massive frame toward the fleet still circling. Each empire trembled, but no one attacked. They knew the cost, yet still they hesitated because to flee meant weakness. To stay meant death, and then the unexpected happened. A small human signal appeared, faint, buried deep in the code of the awakening pulse. Archivists traced it, engineers decoded it. It was not a command. It was not an order. It was a message, ancient and simple. The war is not over. Panic spread faster than light. If this was one Starkiller, how many more slept? How many worlds hid weapons waiting to awaken? The galaxy realized it was not only facing a machine, it was facing the shadow of an entire species that had once ruled through fear and fire. The Starkiller charged again, energy burning brighter than stars. Fleets scattered in terror. Some fled to hyperspace, others powered down, hoping to be ignored, but none could escape the feeling that no distance would be far enough. And then it struck, a Dominion world on the edge of the rift. Its cities glowed for a moment before vanishing. Its oceans boiled away. Its people turned to whispers. In seconds, the planet was gone. Nothing but dust left floating in the void. The galaxy cried out. Messages filled the channels, begging for peace, begging for mercy, but the Starkiller did not answer. It simply pulsed, steady and eternal like a heartbeat of death. And as the flames of destroyed worlds spread, one truth echoed in every empire. Every home, every mind, the galaxy will burn. The echo of humanity. The galaxy burned in silence, worlds shattered, fleets scattered, and stars dimmed, yet the Starkiller did not stop. It moved with slow purpose, as if following a path no one else could see, its eye glowing brighter with each strike, its hum louder with every breath. But deep inside the chaos, something unexpected stirred. On a forgotten colony near the edge of the rift, a group of survivors huddled in the ruins of old human shelters. Most of the galaxy believed all humans had vanished long ago, but here bloodlines remained weak and hidden, mixed with centuries of struggle, their technology gone, their knowledge broken. But their will alive. Among them was a boy named Kale. His life had been simple, hunting for food, repairing scraps, surviving storms. He never thought himself important. But when the Starkiller awoke, he felt it, a whisper in his mind, a call that was not a dream, a voice that said, "Child of Earth, rise." At first he ignored it, fear holding him still, but the whispers grew louder, guiding him to an old ruin deep within the mountains. There he found what no other colonist had ever seen, a chamber untouched for thousands of years, filled with faded symbols glowing faintly as if waiting. When Kale stepped inside, the walls lit up, red lines spreading like fire. Machines stirred, and in the center lay a console, ancient but alive. His hands trembled as he reached for it, but when his skin touched the surface, the chamber awakened. Across the galaxy, the Starkiller pulsed harder, its eye widening, its weapons pausing as though it had felt something familiar, something long lost on the bridge of the Iron Fang. Admiral Relkor watched his screens flicker. The Starkiller's code shifted, signals scrambled, then stabilized. But this time there was something new inside. Human DNA signatures, weak but present. It has found one of them, Relkor whispered. His crew gasping in disbelief. Kale collapsed as visions filled his mind. Memories not his own, battles of the past. Human fleets tearing across the stars. Weapons of fire and light ending entire empires. Voices shouting orders. Faces he did not know but felt were part of him. His heart pounded, tears filled his eyes. And then the voice returned. You are our echo. You carry our command, he begged. I am no soldier. I am nothing. But the machine did not listen. It showed him the Starkiller, showed him its power, and whispered again, through you humanity speaks. The colonists around him panicked. Their shelters cracked as the mountain trembled. Energy flowed through the ruins. Some fell to their knees, calling him chosen, others fled. Fearing what he had become, Kale stood weakly, but his eyes glowed faintly red, reflecting the machine that now recognized him. Across the galaxy, leaders received the same signal. A human had been found alive and the Starkiller responded to him. Empires broke into chaos. Some argued he must be captured. Others said he must be killed before he commanded the weapon. Fleets changed course, rushing toward the forgotten colony. But the Starkiller moved first, its massive frame turned, leaving the ruined planet it had destroyed behind, and set a direct course for Kale's world. In the skies above the colony, clouds split as crimson light filled the heavens. The colonists screamed, some ran, others prayed. Kyle stood frozen as the sky itself opened, the black frame of the Starkiller descending, blocking out the sun, its eye fixed on him alone. Admiral Relkor whispered what the others feared. It has chosen him. The weapon did not fire. It did not destroy. It waited silent, watching, as though waiting for Kale's word. Inside his mind, the whispers grew louder. Command us, child of Earth, the galaxy waits. The war is not over. Kale shook his head, fear tearing through him. I cannot. I am only one boy, but the voice replied. One human is enough, and across the stars, every empire trembled because they now knew the machine was not acting alone. It was not only following old codes, it had found a living connection, a living human, and through him, humanity had returned. The galaxy held its breath. Fleets turned their weapons toward the colony. Leaders screamed across channels. Kill him before he speaks, but none could act fast enough. The boy stood beneath the shadow of the Starkiller, the red glow burning in his eyes, and for the first time in thousands of years, the galaxy feared not only the weapon, but the will of humanity itself. The galaxy trembles, the galaxy was no longer the same. Empires that once ruled with pride now lived in fear. Leaders who commanded fleets of thousands now whispered like frightened children. Because the Starkiller had chosen, and it had chosen a human, Kale stood beneath the shadow of the machine, his heart racing, his mind filled with voices that were not his own. They spoke of strategies, of battles, of ancient victories. Every thought weighed heavy on him. But he knew one truth. The galaxy watched across the stars. Alien leaders gathered in desperate councils. The Krath Dominion demanded war. The Zorathi Empire urged patience. The Valar Confederacy screamed for Kale's death, while the John Priest Kings declared prophecy fulfilled. Their sacred texts claimed a human would return with fire to cleanse the stars. And now they bowed in fear. Fleets circled the colony, hundreds of ships waiting, their weapons armed, their commanders trembling. They dared not strike first, for one word from Kale could mean their end. Yet they could not retreat, for retreat meant surrender of power. On the bridge of the Iron Fang, Admiral Relkor studied Kale's world from afar. His officers demanded action. We must destroy the boy, one shouted. But Relkor shook his head. You cannot destroy what the machine protects. His voice was low, but it carried truth. Kale walked among his people. The colonists stared in awe and fear. Some called him savior. Others called him curse. But Kale himself felt neither. He was only afraid. The machine whispered in his mind, speak, and we obey. Yet his voice trembled, unsure if he should command at all. Suddenly the skies burned. Fleets moved closer, surrounding the colony like vultures. Broadcasts lit up. Leaders shouting into the void, human, surrender yourself, another voice followed. Human, command the weapon in our name. Kale shook his head. He had no wish to serve them, no wish to bring more death. The Starkiller reacted, its eye glowing brighter, its hum rising. A wave of crimson energy pulsed outward. Shaking the fleet's ships lost control, alarms blared, and chaos filled the channels, but still, the machine did not fire. It only warned, waiting for Kale's decision. Panic spread through the empires, fear turned to desperation. Some fleets opened fire in madness, missiles rained down, beams of energy cut across the void. But before they could reach the colony, the Starkiller absorbed them all. The sky flashed red and silence followed. Kale fell to his knees, the voices inside grew louder. Strike, punish them, burn the stars, his heart pounded. He wanted to scream, but then he remembered his people, the frightened faces of his colony. The children hiding in ruins, he whispered back. No, I will not kill for them, the voices paused. As if listening on the other side of the galaxy, chaos deepened. Rebellions erupted. Smaller nations rose against greater empires. Sensing weakness, pirate lords declared themselves kings. Mercenary fleets offered their services to the highest bidder. The galaxy trembled not only because of the weapon, but because of fear. Every world looked to the skies. Every soldier questioned their orders. Every admiral hesitated before battle, because all knew at any moment the Starkiller could arrive. And through it all, Kale struggled, torn between the weight of humanity's legacy and his own fear. Was he the echo of vengeance or the chance for peace? Admiral Relkor watched in silence, his officers desperate. But he saw something they did not. He saw not only the weapon, but the boy, the human heart behind it, and he whispered, "Perhaps humanity does not return to burn us. Perhaps it returns to test us." His words unsettled his crew, but they lingered in their minds. Meanwhile, in the Jawn temples, priests tore apart their sacred scrolls. Some said the prophecy was false. Others said it was only beginning. Riots spread in their cities, for faith could not survive the shadow of a weapon that ended suns. The galaxy trembled, not from beams of fire, not from destruction alone, but from uncertainty. For the first time in centuries, the stars felt fragile, empires felt small, and the future was in the hands of one human boy who had never wished for power. As Kale raised his eyes to the sky, the Starkiller's red glow reflected in them. The machine whispered again, "The war is not over." Kale clenched his fists, his voice shaking. "Then I will decide how it ends." And across the galaxy, billions listened, waiting for the word that could shape the stars. The final command, the galaxy stood on the edge of silence. Fleets floated like ghosts around the colony, their weapons armed but unused. Billions of lives across the stars waited, holding their breath, because one boy stood at the center of it all. One boy and the weapon of humanity. Kale stood beneath the Starkiller's shadow, its red eye burning above him like a second sun. The voices inside his mind thundered, ancient commanders long dead, demanding he continue their war. Strike, finish what we began, the galaxy must kneel. But Kale's heart was torn. He saw the faces of his people, his colony weak and hungry, their homes broken, yet their eyes still hopeful. They did not need vengeance, they needed survival. He clenched his fists and whispered, "I will not be your soldier." But the voices replied, "You are not a soldier, you are our echo." In orbit, Admiral Relkor stared at the screens, sweat dripping down his face. His officers begged him to order an attack, but Relkor only shook his head. "No, the decision is not ours, it is his." And deep inside, he knew the galaxy's fate rested on a human voice. The Krath Dominion leaders shouted across comms, "Kill him! Kill the boy before he speaks." The Valar Confederacy offered promises. "Human, join us. Command the weapon under our banner." The Jawn priest kings fell to their knees, chanting, "The fire has come, the fire will cleanse." But Kale ignored them all. He closed his eyes, the visions grew clearer. Fleets burning, planets shattering, stars collapsing. Humanity's last war replayed before him. He saw the fury, the vengeance, the destruction that ended entire civilizations. He fell to his knees, whispering, "Why me? Why now?" The Starkiller waited, silent, patient, as if holding back the universe until Kale spoke. Suddenly, the fleets moved. Panic broke their discipline. One commander fired, then another. Beams and missiles filled the sky. But before they could reach the colony, the Starkiller reacted, its eye flared. Crimson light spread outward like wings, and the entire barrage vanished, erased. The hum deepened, louder than ever. Stars shook. Planets cracked, ships trembled. The galaxy felt the weight of judgment. Kale's people screamed in fear. The colonists begged him to save them. His heart pounded, he looked up and shouted, "Stop!" The machine froze. Silence fell. Weapons dimmed. The voices inside went quiet. For the first time, the Starkiller listened not to the ghosts of the past, but to him. Kale stood tall, his voice shaking but firm. No more death, no more war. If I command you, you will protect. Not destroy, the voices roared in anger. We were built for vengeance. But Kale's words cut through them. Then I will give you new orders. The Starkiller pulsed once, its glow shifting, its eye dimming slightly, as if considering his command across the galaxy. Fleets watched in terror and hope, wondering if this was mercy or the beginning of something worse. Admiral Relkor whispered, "He is changing it." His crew stared in disbelief. One officer muttered, "Can one boy rewrite the will of humanity?" Relkor answered, "Perhaps that is why the weapon chose him." Kyle lifted his hand. The sky glowed red around him, his words steady. "The war is over," and across the stars, the Starkiller moved, not to strike, not to burn, but to vanish, its colossal frame rising into the void, engines blazing like dying suns. Then in a flash it jumped into hyperspace, leaving the colony untouched, leaving the fleet stunned. The galaxy trembled, not from fire, but from the weight of what had just happened. Humanity's greatest weapon had not destroyed them. It had obeyed a single human boy who demanded peace. Yet fear did not fade, questions burned in every mind. If the Starkiller could change its purpose, what else could it do? If it could vanish into the void, where would it go? And if one weapon still existed, how many others slept, waiting? Kel stood among his people, weak, exhausted, but alive, the glow fading from his eyes. The colonists gathered around him, some calling him savior, others calling him fool, but he only whispered, "I did what I could." And in the silence of space, across the stars, a new truth spread. Humanity had returned, not through armies, not through fleets, but through one boy and a weapon that listened. The galaxy would never be the same.